Probably. Oh, Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Kelly Bennett. I work for International College Counselors, and the session tonight is called College Admissions, Everything You Need to Know, which is a little bit of a presumptuous title, but I also want to let you know that we are trying to provide the kind of background information for what you would need to know if your child is going into senior year or they're going to be starting high school. We can kind of give you some information about those types of situations. And if you would like to write in the chat and let us know what age your child is going into or what grade your child's going into, that would be extremely helpful. You can also write questions in the chat. I'm going to go through the slides and then answer them at the end. But if you have questions about the slides as I'm going through them, feel free to put your questions in there, and then I'll make sure that I've answered everything at the end of the session. My goal is to finish presenting by 7:45 at the latest, so that we have some time for questions and answers. So thank you again for joining us. I am going to go ahead and get started. All right, so my background, I have over 25 years of college admissions experience. My most recent job before International College Counselors was with American Heritage School. For those of you who don't know, that's in Broward County, or at least the school that I worked for is in Broward County. And I was the director of guidance, the director of academic advising, and also worked with a lot of international students on their campus. I spent 23 years there and had a lot of different experiences and different hats that I wore. And I'm now in my fourth cycle with International College Counselors. I decided to graduate from American Heritage when my twin sons graduated from there. And I got to move into a job where I'm doing exactly what I want to do. My most favorite part of the job is working with students and helping them apply to college. So now I get to focus my attention on that exclusively. So International College Counselors is a group of college advisors who help students independently or individually. We're independent from school, but we do not work alone, which is awesome. We have a team of counselors, and we get together on a weekly basis online and share practices and case studies and things like that. We share all kinds of information with each other. So we have a pool of information to gather from. We help students as young as 8th grade, 7th and 8th grade, getting ready for high school, going into their curriculum choices, choosing extracurriculars, narrowing down their college ideas, and helping them apply. And that is where we spend the bulk of our time, is with juniors and seniors in high school and helping them apply to college. We work during the summers. We kind of act like tutors, meeting the students on a regular basis to go through their applications, their essays, and help them refine and submit them in a timely fashion. We also stay on top of all the changes with college admissions. Again, that goes back to us having a team of people that we rely on. We're always busy attending conferences and going to visit colleges and things like that to gather all the information that we need to provide the best service to our clients. We are proud to announce that we have just started another company called Bright World Tutors. So those of you who have joined us before, you may not realize that we have this new company. We're super excited to offer some test prep as a complement to the program that we have for the students applying to college. You know, as most of you know, applying to college does typically require some testing, and the Bright World Tutors are going to be helping students prepare for the SAT, the ACT, and actually beyond. So we do have some counselors who help students apply to graduate school, law school, medical school, things like that. So we will be also providing that assistance as in the tutoring department, and then we can help students with their academic subjects as well. And we make sure that those tutors are going to be matched personally to each student, just like we do with the college advisors. So we're excited to welcome them into our family, so to speak. And I'm pretty I'm pretty I'm pretty impressed with the background that the tutors have. So I'm looking forward to meeting them. Okay, so this presentation is all about helping families like attack this attack maybe isn't the right word, but just to calm down about this process and go about it in an organized way. So our role as college advisors is to help the families understand the process, break it into small pieces, make an individual plan for every student and family, and then help your child apply early. Because when you apply early to places, you're going to be able to kind of minimize the amount of stress that everybody feels during the process. So that's why we work during the summers. That's why we offer that extra help throughout the school year to help students and families understand the process. All right, so I am going to talk about what the colleges are looking for and then what the students need to do in high school to prepare themselves for those applications. I am also going to add my AirPods so that I can make sure that I hear a little bit better what I'm saying. So here we go. All right, so as far as what the colleges are looking for in this process, if I had an audience in person, I would ask for some ideas of what the colleges are looking for. But I'm just going to have to let you know that we are preparing our students to be part of a well-rounded class. So when I was applying to universities, we used to tell or the counselors used to tell us that we were supposed to be well-rounded people. But now what we kind of tell the students is that it's the universities looking for a well-rounded class of people to work together. So you don't, as a student, have to be well-rounded necessarily, but the whole group of students that are going to come together in one university should be well-rounded. So they should come from different geographic regions. They should be interested in different activities, different majors. They should have different talents. And each of those institutions are looking for like kind of what they think is going to be the right fit for them as well. So they're trying to put together a group of students that they think are going to work together and create a unique learning environment. But what is the most important piece of the student's application? Now, this one, I hope if I had you in person that you would be able to come up with this one. Most of you know that the most important piece of the college application are the grades. So the transcript. So I'm going to stay on the slide for a little bit. Grades are the number one factor in college admissions. So the students need to be taking their most challenging classes they can take, but earn the best grades. So earning A's and B's. So they need to have conversations with their teachers, their parents about what's going to be the best curriculum to pursue and still be able to be really successful in that curriculum. The students should be taking at least 4 years of all the major subjects, the 5 core subject areas, English, math, science, social science or history, and then world languages. And also, if for some reason the students struggles the first 1 or 2 years of high school, then it's really important that the student is bringing up their grades for junior year and even into the senior year, because even though they apply to college during their senior year, they can actually submit grades, the first semester grades of their senior year. So always reminding students that that senior year is still important. And ultimately, it's the grades that are more important in this process than anything else. So a lot of high schools have their own little GPA, GPA system. But what we do is remind the students that it's actually the letter grades that the colleges are going to be using. In fact, when they're applying to state universities in Florida, they actually kind of take away pluses and minuses and they recalculate based on those core classes. So that's something that a lot of students and families don't actually know. And that's an advantage to helping the families when they, early on in the process, so we can explain to the students how important it is to choose the right courses and do well in those courses. So that's one of the things that ICC does, is help students select the curriculum. Sometimes I even work with students that are in 8th grade, and we talk about what's going to be the best high school fit for them. I've been working and living in Broward County for a really long time, so I can often give a lot of advice about the different types of high schools that are available. And then choosing the curriculum that's going to meet your child's needs and help them feel successful. Okay, so the second most important part of the college application process. So in most cases, it's going to be the test score. There are a lot of test optional schools in the United States, but in Florida specifically, the state universities require the test score. They never stopped requiring it. Most of the other states, all of the other states stopped requiring it for a little while during the first couple of years of COVID, but then they started to reinstitute the testing policy. So now the Ivies require test scores again, except for Columbia and Princeton, but this is often changing on an annual basis. Georgetown, all the public schools in Florida, Georgia, Tennessee. And again, this changes. I would say it doesn't necessarily change daily, but it changes annually. They usually announce it a year in advance so the students can prepare. So students, when they're getting ready for the standardized testing, they can take practice tests, and then they can figure out which test feels like the right one for them, which ones, they're very similar in their content, but they are different in the way that the questions are delivered. And then the students will then kind of focus in on one or the other, because colleges really don't mind which one you take. You can take the SAT or the ACT, and you can take it as many times as you want to. We used to say that the scores don't increase after 3 times, but actually I have seen that a lot of students have been able to increase their scores by taking it more than 3 times. So they just, I think these kids are very determined to kind of master the test. They almost treat it like a little game. And there's a lot of extra free prep that they can do in addition to private tutoring, and they just really get focused on it and do the best that they can. So they also have something called Super Score, where students can take it multiple times, and then the universities will look at their highest reading and writing score, and then their highest English score, and then their highest math score. So that's generally how it works. There are some exceptions to that, but for the most part, schools will allow you to take it either test, that's for sure, and then take it as many times as you want to. There's a whole list of schools, hundreds of them actually, that are test optional. So if a student's not doing well on the test or doesn't have a score high enough for certain schools, they can choose not to send their score. And a lot of universities have that policy, and it's really okay. We are very good at helping students figure out which scores to send, when to send them, how to send them, when to start their tutoring. We have obviously now we have our own test prep company, but we also have a lot of other tutors that we know and have developed relationships over the years. Okay, so what else are colleges looking for? So we have the grades and the test scores. Those are the 2 most important parts of the application. And then there are other pieces. So for those of you who haven't gone through this process recently, maybe it's your first child in high school that's applying to colleges, there are some sort of generic things that all the colleges are going to be looking for. So in addition to the grades and test scores, there's an expectation that your child is going to do extracurricular activities and community service. So most high schools have a community service component, and then they have clubs and organizations on campus the students can join. But we as a company, we really try to help the students figure out what they're interested in, what their strengths are, and then find opportunities beyond what they can do at school. So we want them to go out into the community. We want them to help them find opportunities for work or for internships, shadowing experiences, that kind of thing. We have an extensive database for summer experiences. So that's a really great time for students to explore topics that they don't get to do during school. There are summer jobs are amazing, and volunteering of any kind. So these are all different examples of things that kids can do. We want to help them find what something that they would love to do and opportunities for leadership within those experiences. So we are looking to help the students participate in a meaningful way. We want them to join clubs and organizations just out of interest when they're young, and then stay involved. Colleges really want to see consistency. They like to see students that create their own activities or projects or take initiative within an existing organization to start an event or something that's unique to that, particular organization. And then as they grow a little bit older, the goal would be to sort of take on some leadership roles, whether that's a coordinator for a specific event or captain of a team or president of a club or something like that. But it doesn't have to be right away. Those are things that they would grow into. But colleges do like to see that students are showing some interest in areas outside of school. And there is no right answer, like anything goes. Kids can get involved in anything they want to, as long as they are doing something productive outside of the classroom and they enjoy it, and they can kind of showcase their abilities, their interests, and compete in different organizations and things like that. So there's a lot of different opportunities at all the schools. And then again, like I said, outside of the schools, we can help students find things as well. Beyond extracurriculars, universities are going to ask students to show a little bit of writing. So there's an essay component, typically. There's a personal statement that the students generally have to write for the common application. And we as a company do a really good job of helping the students brainstorm ideas, develop their essays and outlines, and then polish their essays. We spend a lot of time on this. We usually start second semester of junior year of high school to get the students to think about what type of topic they want to do. And then we're trying to create a narrative, a story, where they can showcase some positive information about themselves. And this is an opportunity for them to be creative when they're applying to universities within the United States. It is a bit of a creative essay. And then we help them obviously polish it and make sure that there's no spelling and grammar mistakes and things like that. We actually have a second reader for all students that are turning in their essays within a timely fashion. We make sure that we read it more than once. We discourage the students of using AI at this stage because the colleges are wanting original work. And we encourage them to start really early so that they can write several drafts and they can kind of perfect that personal statement before they even go back to school in their senior year. Because once they go back to school in August, that's when we'll be kind of working on shorter essays that might be due at the time of applications. Okay, so another piece of the application, sometimes schools will ask for letters of recommendation from teachers. So we encourage the students to develop relationships with those teachers, especially their junior year of high school. That's usually when they're going to be asking for those letters right before they leave for the summer, going into their senior year, because then the teachers can write the letters over the summer. When they go back to school for their senior year, they can have those letters ready to submit to the universities. We also kind of help them if the teachers ask them to fill out forms, we can help them with those types of things as well. Okay, so colleges are kind of looking for a specific type of student, and students should be kind of trying to figure that out in terms of what they want from the institution as well. So we're looking for that best fit. There's a is this a good academic match for the student? Are they going to be successful at this school? Are they going to be able to thrive in this situation? And one of the best ways to figure that out is to visit the colleges. So we are always encouraging students to try to brainstorm with them and their families about which colleges they might be interested in, and then getting them to go visit those schools and come back and tell us what they've learned. Colleges themselves are very interested in having students that are going to be successful on their campus, but also are going to stay on their campus and be meaningful contributors to that campus community. So colleges are often concerned about yield, like how many of the students are actually going to say yes if they do admit them, or do they want to be there? So that's something that we recommend the students definitely show some sort of interest in those schools by communicating with them in some way. And we like to start that process as early as possible. So some of the ways that they can show interest in the school, they can be doing some research about the schools and then joining different newsletters. They could do some research through social media. I know I have students that like to check out what the colleges are doing on social media so they can get a sense of whether or not they would enjoy being there. Most of these colleges are going to recruit at the local high schools or even in regional meetings throughout the state. So there's opportunities to actually meet the reps that might actually read your applications. And I always recommend that students do that, especially if they aren't able to visit the colleges in person. It's a big time commitment and financial commitment to visit a lot of schools. So sometimes it's just at earlier stages, you're just kind of looking online, looking on social media, and then going to meet the reps whenever they're available. Okay, we encourage all of our students to apply early. So there are a lot of different deadlines. There are deadlines that are restrictive, or they show a commitment to the school. Those are called early decision or restrictive early action. It means that you, as a senior, have made a decision that one of the schools is your top choice. And you can sign a contract saying that if you get in, you would go to that school. So some of the schools, it's a big commitment. In other schools, it's like you don't have to go there if you get in, but you're also applying to only that school early. So it kind of restricts how many of the applications you can send at an early time. There's some strategies involved, and we often will talk to the students and families about these strategies and try to help them make that decision pretty, like during the summer before their senior year, so that they know what they need to tackle early. Some early applications are due in October 15th of the senior year, or November 1st is usually the biggest deadline of the senior year. We want students to apply early action whenever they can. I always tell them early action is you're acting early and you're going to get rewarded with an early decision, and then some scholarship money, because usually universities want the students to apply early to prioritize their scholarship consideration. Okay, so applying early gives a huge advantage. Here are some, I don't know if you'll be able to read this on your screen, but there are some of the big names, the kind of heavy hitter schools that accept early decision applicants at a much higher percentage. Still very competitive to get in, but there's a lot higher percentage of students that are accepted early versus regular decision. So early decision or early action is usually again in November of their senior year, and then regular decision deadlines are in January. So students who get all of that stuff done, their grades and test scores and essays and letters and all of those things submitted early in the beginning of their senior year, are going to be rewarded with a decision earlier. So if they apply in November, they will often get their answer in the middle of December or in January or February at the latest of their senior year. All right, so making the list of colleges, this is like I don't know how many of the families on this call have younger students, but this is an opportunity to start thinking about like what what is important to my child? You know, what exactly are they looking for out of their 4 years in undergraduate school? So I would start with a longer list, maybe 10 to 20 schools, and and then research those individual schools. We, as a company, we have like a little worksheet that we have the students do. I call it a college exploration sheet, and have them look at the majors that might be of interest to them. When I always talk to them about where do they want to go to school, if they, I'm based in Florida, so a lot of my students come from Florida. Do they want to stay in Florida? Do they want to go out of state? Do they want a combination of schools on their list? And then I try to get them to kind of think of three things that they really, really want to make sure that the university has. I call those the deal breakers. And then we make sure that we review each of the schools individually and try to figure out, do these schools actually fit the criteria? So parents might be interested in things, different things than the students, and it is a family decision. So we often talk about, you know, safety of the campus, or the, you know, what is the campus life like? What is the cost? That should be a factor in the decision making. And then what activities are available? What's the reputation of the school? Housing, food, those types of things. So again, this is like a conversation that we have over a couple of years. So with the younger students, we'll just kind of have like a very basic, like, what do you think you might want to study? What are your favorite subjects kind of thing? And then as you get a little bit older, talk about where do you want to go, in-state, out-of-state, big school, little school, that kind of thing. And then what are the advantages and disadvantages for those types of places? Okay, so after creating that longer list, in order to get that list down to a more reasonable size for applying, we encourage students to visit the schools or talk to reps at college fairs. They have a lot of virtual visits and information sessions that students can go to gather information about the schools now. Like I said, students can connect with universities through social media, or at least observe what they're doing. The universities will reach out to them via email, and sometimes they ask them to fill out surveys, and that's a way to show your interest. Looking at the college website, talking to a current student who goes to that school or an alum, teachers, counselors, school counselors or an independent counselor, that kind of thing. So these are lots of great resources for trying to figure out what's the right fit. And then what else can they be doing? So if they're really young at this point, the most important thing is to pay attention to academics and their grades. And then if they do have activities and awards, they can start keeping track of that information as a parent. One of the best things you can do is to sort of save all those awards and things that they get in a folder for them, so that they can compile them all into one place, and then they can add them to their resume. If you're a junior, think about which two teachers you want to ask for letters of recommendation, and then start thinking about where you would like to visit, and writing down what your three main objectives are in college, and trying to create the list. What are potential majors and goals that you have? College costs, that kind of thing, trying to figure out what's going to make sense as a family, researching scholarships, and then don't be afraid to ask for help. Okay. So finally, we are here to help students and families get excited about the process. I always tell people that I live vicariously through my students and get very excited. We definitely are on a roller coaster ride with them, ups and downs, but the main thing is that there are hundreds of universities, thousands actually, and our sole job is to make sure that students find a place to go. So there is always going to be some somewhere for the students to go. They just have to kind of relax, not get overly stressed, and work on things in a slow and diligent fashion. So last year, our our group of students received over 1,500 acceptances, and they got into 253 different schools. So we are going to be able to help them and guide them through this process and help the family feel less anxious and more organized. So I did pretty well with the timing there. I was trying to go a little faster than I normally do, just to kind of cover everything and give us a little time for Q&A. We also do free consultations for families, like a 30-minute consultation, just to let you know what we do individually, and then to allow you to ask some questions and see if we can establish a rapport with you and your child, and talk about the different packages and programs that we have. So if you're interested in any of that, just reach out via email or call me. And let me see here. Amy, do we have any questions or any? I don't see anything in the chat. This is a very quiet bunch. Does anyone have any questions?
Do you need help with me reading the questions?
I didn't see them. I looked in the chat and I didn't see anything.
There's 2 in the Q&A.
Oh, okay, I see now. That was kind of hidden from me. Okay. Let's see. So when schools state that they are test optional, are students separated from those who do submit their tests? That is a really good question. So the way that they say that they review the application is that they're looking at a student from a holistic standpoint. So they're going to be obviously looking at the classes, and the rigor of the curriculum is important usually at schools that are test optional, and the grades. And then they look at their writing through the essay, and they look at their extracurricular activities, because remember, there's that institutional fit. So from what I understand, and the way that we as a group understand how these things are done, and some of us have been on worked at colleges and been on committees, it's really not supposed to be separate, like two separate groups of kids. Like if it's truly a test optional school, they're going to be looking at the student from a holistic standpoint. And I have seen students who have not gotten into school that we thought they would get into, and then get into a school that we didn't think they would get into. And it just really depends on the university. All right, let's see. We have another question. Do you have a la carte services? Yes, we do. We definitely have a la carte services. Amy's not one to brag about what she does, but she is kind of our writing expert. So we have some essay editing opportunities with her. And we also have some kind of tailored programs that we've been working on with families, just to sort of meet the demand. And then what's the most important thing for a high school student in the junior year to do? Is it too late? No, it is definitely not too late. The most important thing for a junior is to keep their grades up. We're only in November of the year, the school year. So we are at a point where students, if they can turn their grades around, we still have a second quarter grade, probably a midterm grade, to help them get most of the universities only look at semester grades. So if they can get their semester grades up, that would be extremely helpful. And then there are opportunities for them to participate in activities outside of school, or competitions, or things to kind of beef up their resume. And the summer before their senior year is also a really great time to do that. And again, we do have a lot of different ideas and things that we do. We try to get to know the kids really well and individualize the program, and give them advice about how they can improve those things before they actually send out their applications. Let's see. And I think that same person said that the high school counselors haven't started working with the juniors yet, which increases anxiety. Yes, I can imagine that. And I know that from working at a school that is the case. School counselors are usually extremely focused on seniors. And then they start to shift their attention towards juniors, usually not until January of the junior year. So it's not that it's too late. I wouldn't say that. I would just say that hopefully the high school has been communicating on an annual basis about what each of the students are supposed to be doing, or what that grade level of students are supposed to be doing to keep themselves in the mix. Um, let's see. How does financial aid affect decisions, especially when applying early decision? And do I think the question is, how do we help students apply for financial aid scholarships? Okay, so the financial aid piece, for the most part, is separate from admissions. Most of the universities are going to be what they call need blind to, and you check a box saying you want to be considered for financial aid or not. Although it can be helpful for a family to say, you know what, we don't need any financial aid. We're willing to pay the full price. That can be very advantageous for certain schools. And then as far as how ICC helps with financial aid and scholarships, we're going to make sure that the students and families are aware of the deadlines. We will help them with any essays that are attached to scholarships. There are scholarships at specific universities, so we make sure that we know what those deadlines are and help the students apply for those if they want to apply. And then for financial aid, we send out blogs about the financial aid process, the dates, and how everything works and how you fill it out. We don't sit with you to help you fill it out, but we explain when and how to do it. Okay, let's see. Do you have a website where we can start researching colleges and narrow down before talking to a counselor? Oh, okay. So we actually, as a company, we use something called Naviance. A lot of high schools used to use it, although many of the high schools have switched to something called Score or Zello, or there's a lot of different platforms you can use, but you can actually use the College Board to do a search, and that's pretty helpful. Most of the students have a College Board account. They usually take a PSAT pretty early in high school and they have an account. So that's a place where you can do a college search, and you can kind of put in the geographic regions that you're interested in, the majors that you might want to consider, that kind of thing. And if you do it through the College Board, then it sort of connects you. It takes your PSAT score and it says, hey, it looks like you're pretty good at science. You might be interested in this particular major, and hey, these schools have this major, that kind of thing. All right, let's see. Do all colleges offer admission support services for those with disabilities? Yes, they definitely do. The students get the choice to identify as needing those services in the application itself, or they can wait until they get into the university and then identify, which is usually what we recommend. If they're a pretty good student, anyway, we just tell them to identify with that particular service department as soon as they decide which school they want to go to, and then they turn in their documentation and they get their accommodations. Okay, so for the letter of recommendation, does it need to be from math and English teacher? Or can it be from science and history if the goal is business related? So it doesn't always have to be math and English. It can be, I think it should be one of the 5 core teachers, and they usually want 2 letters, so mix it up a little bit. Like English and math is kind of helpful, but it definitely, there's certain kids that are gonna get a stronger letter from the science teacher or a history teacher. And if the goal is business, I would say, I mean, honestly, these letters are going to be, they're supposed to showcase how the student is doing as an overall student. Like, are they participating in class? Are they engaged? Are they writing well? Are they helping others learn? Are they asking good questions in class? Those types of things. So any teacher would be fine as long as the student is doing a good job in that class and the teacher is going to write, something really positive about the student. But for business related, I mean, I would say math is kind of a key component of business schools, so that might work well. And then the other one could be whichever other class the student's doing well in. But again, it doesn't have to be that. Some universities will allow students to send in additional letters, and then they could ask for a letter from an elective teacher, like maybe they have a creative writing teacher, or they have um, a business teacher, maybe they have a pre-business program at their school. So there could be an additional letter as well. Any insight on how or if the University of Chicago's financial problems are influencing acceptances this year and influencing its ranking and reputation? Are you guiding students away from the University of Chicago? We are not guiding students away from any of the universities. I feel like a lot of the universities are going through a lot of different, um, you know, uh, they're they're going through some major growing pains right now, but we're not steering kids away from any universities based on that. Chicago has a really strong reputation, and we send a lot of kids there from South Florida, so um, you know, that's not something we've been shying away from at this stage. Any other questions? Very good. Awesome. Well, I am really grateful that you showed up tonight. I hope I didn't go too fast in my effort to kind of streamline the presentation. I might have talked a little faster than I normally do. But again, if you're interested in finding out a little bit more about ICC or Bright World tutors, just send us an email or give us a call, and we will try to connect you to the right people and give you a free consultation so that we can figure out how we can help you. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.